The first of our 2 8 pieces of brocade exercises that you're going to learn today is a fabulous exercise for mobilizing around the waist, around the hips, and also into the knees. So on the physical level, it's really great for anything in the lower part of the body. On the mental and emotional level, what it does from a Chinese medicine point of view, from a more medical point of view, is it helps to bring down what's called fire in the body. And usually with fire, when we're looking at heat or fire in Chinese medicine, if you think about heat and fire, it naturally tends to rise. If you look at a fire, the flames rise upwards. So often what we end up with is heat and fire in the head. And that can manifest as things like headaches, ringing in the ears, sore gritty eyes, sore throat, dry mouth because the heat dries everything out, and various other kind of physical symptoms, but also on that mental and emotional level, a very busy, scattered mind. You feel like you've got all these thoughts going on, but they're not really going anywhere, and there's no kind of focus or logic to them. And that's what heat and fire does when it rises up into the head. So this exercise acts to bring that heat and fire down through the body, and what you're going to do is send it out through the base of the spine. Okay, so that's what will be in your mind as we do this, and I'll explain a little bit more about how you do that as we go through the exercise. And this exercise has a great name. It's called Shaking Head and Wagging Tail, and you'll see why from the movement. So I'm going to show it to you first in the sitting position, and I'll just give you that as a quick demonstration if you want to be sitting for this, but I would recommend that you stand if you can, because that's the classical way in which it's performed, and you'll get the most benefit out of it if you're standing. Even if you feel a little bit tired after 2 or 3 rounds of it and you want to sit down then, that's fine. But by standing, it will really encourage your body to be much more energized and also really help with strengthening the whole of this lower half of the body, especially the thighs. You'll see why in a moment when I stand up. But from a sitting position, all you want to do is stay in this position, or your other option is to spread the legs a little further apart, but do so in a way that the feet are still facing towards the front. So the toes are not pointing out towards the sides, the toes are facing forwards. You maybe can't see my feet in the video here, but basically they're facing forward in the same way as for your regular sitting position. Okay, and check now if you have adopted this position that you're not allowing the knees to fall in like this. You want the knees to be back out and sitting on top of the ankles, directly above the ankles. Okay, have a play around with that now. You might need to draw the feet in slightly towards your body or a bit further away, but just check that that position is comfortable enough for you. Okay, so from here, the hands are going to rest on the tops of the knees, elbows kind of point more out towards the sides in order for your fingers to point in towards the center. So you're resting, and you'll find as you do that, that you kind of lean forwards a little bit. So as you're leaning forwards, try not to round in the back. You want to be up straight. And just to show you from the side, that position. So when you come forwards so the back is still straight. So you're hinging at the hips. So even just to rock back and forwards like this, just to practice and see how that feels. So as you come forwards, you're not doing this and rounding. That's very bad for your upper back and your neck and your shoulders. So the hinge is down here at the hips. Okay, now, so from here, I'll show you the movement first, and then we'll go with the breath, and then we'll add in the mind. Okay, so maybe just follow me along in the sitting position. We'll all do it together in the sitting, and then I'll show you it in the standing position. And if you want to stay sitting while I do that, that's fine. So now just hinging forwards in the hips, and just look down at the ground, but you're not dropping the head and bringing the chin towards the chest. You're keeping the neck aligned with the spine. So just gazing gently down towards the ground. And from here then, I want you to move the body over to one side to look down at your big toe. And then go a little bit further, move the body to the side, and now come up slightly, thinking of lifting here in the chest, and look towards that side. And you'll feel a lovely little twist in the upper back, in the spinal area, around the waist and the hips. Now come back down to look at your big toe. And from here, looking down at the ground, you're thinking of the top of your head like a lighthouse beacon, and it's going to move across all the way across the front of your body. And from here, you might feel a little stretch in the groins as you do that. Looking down at the other big toe now, and then to the other side, coming up and twisting, keeping a little bit of tone in the lower abdomen, but not too tight, nice and relaxed still. And then come back down to the big toe. The top of your head is the lighthouse beacon, coming across to the opposite toe, and then up, looking to the side. And the whole time my elbows are nice and relaxed. I'm not really locking out in the elbows. I'm having this idea of a lovely sweeping motion across the front, really feeling nice mobility in the waist, and then a lovely stretch in the sides of the body here as I turn to the side and in the upper back too. Coming back down and across and up and back down again. So now let's link everything together. So really now looking at keeping this movement as continuous as possible. Lovely and flowing and soft and effortless. Okay, so now take a breath in as you come up to the side and breathe out as you go around the front. Breathe in up to the side, and the breath, remember, is in and out through the nose. Breathe out, coming down and around. Breathing in, turning to the side. Breathing out and coming around. So just a few more rounds of that at your own pace to match whatever is a comfortable breathing rhythm for you. So where is the mind in all of this? What we're going to do is not worry too much about the mind being involved in any physical movement, because I'm sure you're already feeling that as you're doing this exercise. But how do we bring that fire down from the head and send it out down through the spine so that it leaves the base of the spine? So as you're coming down and forwards here, think of the top of the head and a pathway running all the way down the back of the neck, all the way down through the spine and out the base of the spine, and then coming up to take a breath in. So you're breathing out the fire down from the top of the head with this exhalation all the way down out the base of the spine, and then taking a breath in of clean, fresh, energizing air. So breathing out the fire from the head all the way down the spine. And then breathing in. So you can think of the fire leaving that very last vertebrae of the spine, almost like a jet of steam. See it disappearing. It's easier to imagine this when you're standing, and you'll see that in a moment. When you're sitting, it's not so difficult because you're sitting on the base of the spine. So closing the eyes now and just settling into a few more rounds of this. And anyone with high blood pressure, remember, not dropping the head too low. Anyone with any osteoporosis, again, not going down too low. So a variation on this would just be to stay higher and just move across at a higher level. And that's absolutely fine too, because remember, the movement is only 1/3 of this practice. The other third is the breath, and the last third is the mind. So you're still getting the benefits even at this higher level of movement. And then coming back to the front, coming up to upright again. And then very gently, just take your hand onto the sides of the knees and just give them a little bit of assistance to come back into the center. And placing the hands back down on your thighs. So that's shaking head and wagging tail in a sitting position. You can stay in that position if you want, but I'm going to show you the standing position now. So if you want to stand and give it a go, you'll see how much more benefit you get from it and how you can really start to strengthen the thighs and that lower half of the body if you practice this for a few minutes a day. Okay, so standing up now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step out to the side. So I've got the legs in this parted position. The feet are facing forward, still parallel, and not allowing the knees to drop in. I'm going to push the knees out to the side, and I'm going to sit down in what's called a horse stance. So a horse stance is as though you're sitting down on the horse. And if you look at a horse rider, you'll see that their back is usually very straight. They're not rounding in the back. So if you look at me from the side, when I sit into a horse stance, I'm sitting down and I'm thinking of my sit bones going directly down. I'm not sticking my butt out this way and coming forward, and I'm definitely not rounding in the shoulders. So when you bend the knees, you want to have the tailbone tucked under and think of the pelvis moving forwards. You bend the knees and then you won't be able to go as far as you can as if you do this. Anyone can do this. Okay, so you want to have this lovely straight back. Think of tucking the butt underneath. So the back is straight. You don't want it sticking out like that. You see the difference in how I move the pelvis there. This position crunches up everything in your spine here, in the lower back. It prevents the flow of blood, of fluid and of chi through that area. You want to open it up by tucking the tailbone under. And then nice and straight. So you see how straight my back is there. Shoulders are moved back slightly, not rounding in the shoulders. Okay, so that's your horse stance. Now that in itself is an exercise. So you'll see, a lot of martial artists would practice kicks and punches from this position because it really helps to strengthen their thighs and gives them a really kind of solid stance. But like I said, you won't be able to go very far out with this or very far down. Now, if you want to come in a bit closer and just have a wider stance, again, same position with your knees bent, but out over your ankles, and you'll feel a bit of pressure on the outsides of the lower legs and on the outsides of the feet in this position. So just find a position that's comfortable for you. Same drill with the arms. So hands go down onto the tops of the thighs, just above the knees, fingers facing in towards the center, lots of space here under the elbows, nice and relaxed, bending and hinging from the hips. So again, just to show you from the side, I'm in my horse stance, and then I come down, I'm hinging from the hips, trying to keep my back straight. Okay. Now, from here, we know the movement now. So you look down at the ground, again, not dropping your head too far down. If you have any issues with high blood pressure, or you know that you can't do forward bends because of osteoporosis. So looking down and then moving across to look at one toe. And from here now coming up, and you see that my other leg straightens a little bit. And you may want to lift the heel off the ground, whatever is easier for you. And then coming back down, look at the toe, and then same sweeping motion across to the other toe, and coming up, straightening slightly in this leg. So the hips are turning very slightly in this direction. You're really getting nice rotation from the hip area, the waist, and then all the way up through the rib cage, which creates this lovely motion, this lovely twist in the spine and the upper back as well. And then down and across. So your top of your head is like the beacon, and then coming up. So breathing out as you come down and across, breathing out that fire from the head out through the base of the spine, and breathing in as you come up. Breathing out, and remember, using your abdominal breathing here, so the breath is in and out through the nose. It's quite a physical exercise, so you might feel compelled to breathe through the mouth, but as much as you can, Keep the breath in and out through the nose, even if that means you slowing down the rate of movement, just to be able to catch your breath. Breathing out, seeing the fire disappearing out of the coccyx area at the base of the spine. And a few more rounds of this in silence now. Maybe close your eyes and see how it feels with your eyes closed. That creates a whole other dimension to this exercise because you need a little bit more balance to do this when your eyes are closed. And we'll make this the next one, the last one. And from here, coming over to the center, stop at the center point, push into the feet now in order to help lift yourself back up to upright, and then bending the knees, step one foot in, the other foot in, bring the hands over and down in the direction of Dantian, and allowing then the hands to come back down by your sides. So coming into your standing position, feet to hip width distance apart, close the eyes for a moment, come back to the breath, and observe anything that you notice in the body or the mind. One interesting thing about that exercise is that usually you find it really brings you into the present moment. You're so busy thinking about where the movement and the mind and the breath are that you're definitely not thinking about what to cook for dinner tonight or what time to go and do the shopping or pick kids up from school or any of those other day-to-day things that we often have whirring around in our minds, creating this mind chatter. That exercise is really great at bringing you into the present moment.